Hello, fellow traders. Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you Monday, March the 20th. The year's 2023. Let's talk trading. Getting lucky, part 3 with Walmal. As always, these videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from Walmal's and differ from mine. Walmal, we've been trading this morning, and you just said you got lucky a couple times, and this is a Monday, so I thought
Yep.
maybe you could tell the traders about your luck today.
Well, it's kind of funny, yesterday my family anyway, celebrated St. Patrick's Day and, the luck of the Irish, right? and, but the reality is that every trade that you get into, it's a question of, what you don't know what it's going to do. The market, I don't want to say the market's random in nature, but it sometimes feels that way. And, it's the type of thing where you can line everything up, have everything in place, and it just goes against you for no unknown reason. And then it goes exactly the way you expected it to go. And so, I think I said last week on a video that, I don't necessarily totally believe in the concept of luck, but at the same time, I like to go and say that instead of being luck, it's just the reality is that the markets move because until I like to say it's a living organism. And living organisms sometimes do things that you would not expect, and because they're trying to thrive in whatever way that they're trying to thrive. And but at the same time, we who are trying to go and take advantage of that movement sometimes don't or aren't able to read all of the tea leaves, as they like to say. We can read some of them, but we don't see all of them. And that's what it comes down to. So, like today, what happened was, I've been biased short today so bad it's not even funny. I mean, they give you an idea. I've got one trade, that's I'm sorry, that's not true. I got three trades that are buys, and every other one of my trades is a short trade. and and it just I don't know why, but I just feel that way. But the thing is, I've gone into several trades with my bias short, and it's turned around and gone against me. And I think you had said earlier that on the strength meter, the pound was like number 2, and the dollar was like number 7. Here I am biased short, the complete opposite of that. But it turns out that all my ideas about where the market was going to go, they all panned out. The problem is that I'm, as you like to say, I was in an hour too early. For me, it was like I was not in an hour too early. I was in 15 minutes too early and had to have things run against me. And so I think the takeaway from me anyway on this is that okay, things like that are going to happen. And call it luck, call it just providence, just call it whatever you want to call it. But the bigger issue or the bigger thing to do with that is how do you mitigate against that? Since you don't take the big L in the sky, yeah, you gotta go and somehow mitigate against it. And I said before I had three buys. Well, here's the truth of the matter. Those three buys weren't three buys because I was looking to go long. Those three buys were because if I was hedging against the potential losses that I was going to go and take. And so that protected me and kept me safe. And then I was able to get out of those buys with some nice profit. And then at that point in time, the markets, in all those cases, the markets turned around and went back in my direction. I was able to make money, in the other direction. But that's where it really comes down to, sure that things are random. Sometimes got to be lucky as to whether or not you get in at the exact same spot. But the bigger thing is, I think, for we as traders is what are we going to do knowing that happens? What are we going to do to protect ourselves? What are we going to go and do in order to take advantage of it? Both of them are just as, are very, very important. I think protect yourself is number one. Number two is take advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was biased short, and after a while, I looked at one of my multimeters. In fact, it was this one here, and everything was aqua. I said, you know what? I'm walking away, and I haven't traded in over an hour, even though I'm kicking myself because I had called a short at 38 a few minutes ago. Then the market, pound ran right back up to 40, and I could see right here it was a higher low box right at 38.6. It's like, why didn't I take that short?
Yeah, and as I was speaking, talking about my bias short, I went short as I was speaking. I went short at 35.5, and I got out at, let me look here, I got out at 30.3. So I was able to pick up, 4.5 pips after paying my commission and stuff. But, so, but it's, again, there's, if you look at the market, and you look at the day, and you look at the hour, and you look at the, everything, it's sort of like, why in the world are you biased short? I don't know why I'm biased short. For whatever reason, I'm a red rat today.
Well, because we're in the red rat zone, talking about rats.
Right, that's
Yeah,
probably true.
we're 10 pips off the high, so we're pretty much smack dab in the middle of the rat zone.
Right, but the thing is, like I was saying, some people like to go and say that, well, it wiggles. You like to say, oh, they wiggled me out. Some people will call that noise. It was just, and I don't like to go and call it noise because I make my money off of noise, and I don't like to call it noise for that reason. But at the same time, we have to understand that if we're trading like that so-called noise, we have to go and put protections around that so that we're able to go and stay, in a situation where we can make money and, more importantly, not lose money.
Exactly. So, because I've been trading the M5 candle color at the lines here that I set up with the psychological in yellow, and then just and the other 5 lines in gray, and just going with the M5 candle color, in the moment, and not worry about what other indicators or levels are, so I don't second guess, hesitate. And because the worst thing in this type of trade is, let's say you're supposed to be long at 30 and you don't get in to say 30.7, and then price maybe runs up a couple of more points, where had you gotten in at 30, you could have taken a pip off the table. But because of where you got in, you're barely at break even. And then it reverses on you. And then then it inflects on you. And then you've got to hedge or do something.
Yep. Yeah. There was a guy, his name was Robert Frank. You can look him up on the internet. And he was a researcher, professor of management. And so he worked at, I think, if I recall correctly, he was at Cornell or a school like that. I can't remember exactly where he was at, but in any case, famous researcher, and he studied this whole idea of not just markets but just business in general, and the fact that things go up and down, and how what does skill play into, and talent play into this idea of luck and things going against you. And, it basically, the conclusion that he came to after all of his research is that you have to have some talent, you have to have some skill, but that is not enough. And his conclusion was you have to be in the right place at the right time. And in business, it's the type of thing where, I have a very, I wouldn't call him a good friend, but a very close acquaintance. Let's put it that way. He has since passed away, but he invented the Teflon washer. Okay, now Teflon had come out of the NASA program, during the 1960s, and he came to the conclusion: hey, there's all these washers and they have friction on them. We have to always be sitting there, going and lubricating them. He came up with the idea, well, Teflon's a very slippery thing. Why don't we use Teflon washers? And that way we don't have to be constantly lubricating. And he shopped that idea for 20 years trying to make it work, trying to make it work, trying to make it work. And then finally, he found an application that worked perfectly in the automotive industry, and it took off. And he went from literally, how do I put food on the plate and not starve my wife and kids, to being multi millionaire. And what that is just being in the right place at the right time. And I give that story. Well, what has it got to do with trading? Well, you got to be in the right place at the right time. That means that you take the trade, you see what the trade does, and you take advantage of it. And, there are two ways of doing it. Either step one is you go and, or option one is to take every single trade that comes across the plate, and eventually you get the nice winner, and you can have a 50% win rate or even a 30% win rate, and and actually do really well. It's just that you got to go and make sure that your risk reward, is some of those guys like to say, that that's very, very positive. You're winning a lot. Your winnings are much higher than your losings in terms of actual pips or actual dollars. Or the option number two is like what you're doing right now. It's like you know what you want to do, but you're just not seeing the opportunity there, and so you're sitting on your hands and waiting and waiting and waiting. And sometimes you're kicking yourself, in the fanny, as they like to say, because that would have been a great trade where it could have made 5 or 10 pips, but you're waiting and sitting there waiting for that nice, perfect setup that when it comes, you'll be able to take advantage of that, and because you're in the right place at the right time. And that's where the idea of luck comes in, because where you can mitigate it against quote unquote bad luck, because you're sitting there and you're not just going and taking every trade, but you're trying to take the better trades and trying to up our odds. We're trying to be, sort of like, the old thing that, if you gave a multiple choice test to a monkey and there was 4 questions on each answer, he would get a 25 because he just randomly select answers. Well, we're not monkeys, we're humans, and we got a brain. Well, let's use our brain, look at the charts, figure out what makes sense, and adhere to it, and stick to it, and therefore maybe get it up from that 25% to maybe 50%. And if we got that up to 50% or more, that's when we can make some money.
Yeah, exactly. So, because what I'm waiting for is, I'm just waiting for actually, the H4 candle just opened a little bit, is what I'm looking for to see. Wait, is that the right H4? I think this candle might have been the right H4. And then, and not trade against it, because it gets slaughtered if you stand in front of an H4 freight train, that's for sure. As I like to call them.
Yeah, you get run over, bulldozed over,
actually,
whatever you want to call it.
Actually, this is the last hour or so. Plus, I know that price usually will start to reverse or hit the high of the day and reverse in the next hour or so. So that's when I want to put my shorts on. So, fellow traders, just remember, you got to put yourself in a position to be lucky, because it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.